Seemed like it's on. Okay. Ms. Bernier Toth, as I mentioned in my remarks, I have constituents whose children have been abducted to Egypt by one of the parents over the past several years. I know that Egypt is not a signatory to the Hague Abduction Convention, and that obviously is a significant factor, and I know that you have worked aggressively to press your Egyptian counterparts on this issue, and I would just encourage you to please continue to do that, and please let us know, either my office or this subcommittee, of anything else that you think we can do here in Congress to help you in that effort. One of the problems that we have seen in the cases from my district and in cases across the country is the reluctance of U.S. attorneys to move forward with charges against the abducting parent because a court order was not in place at the time the children were abducted, which is problematic, of course, because an abduction could very well be planned before there's even any known friction, legal experience going on or anything else. And I understand the position of the DOJ and U.S. attorneys, but I also think that that's really hindered some of our progress in this area. And it obviously hinders our ability to press the foreign governments that are in question. And for that matter, it prevents us from being able to ensure that the abducting parent is stopped when they travel elsewhere to third countries or potentially even back here to the United States. So I'm not going to ask you to make comment on the decisions within DOJ, but I'd like to ask you how a more proactive and perhaps supportive approach by DOJ might provide the State Department with some additional authority. And do you, and I'm talking about DOJ and law enforcement generally, and do you see areas where coordination between state, DOJ, and law enforcement could be strengthened?
I think personally there's always room for more coordination and cooperation, no matter what the issue is. I'm all about cooperation. I think one of the things we see is that often local law enforcement is not aware that there is no waiting period. If a child is reported missing, that they can enter that child's name into the NCIC.
And when you say local, you mean local as in city,
state, local,
okay.
Yes. And so that is an area where I think greater awareness is needed. I mean, certainly we work with the law enforcement authorities on our prevention working group. We have representation there, but again, there's always more that we could do. I totally agree.
Thank you. Do you have any comment on that, sir, about the question I just asked about coordination between state and DOJ and local law enforcement and what could be done to improve it?
I don't know. I'll just note that in that regard, our consular sections in both our embassies in Seoul and Tokyo work on these issues very closely in coordination with our Bureau of Consular Affairs, and that's where that kind of connective piece would play out.
And so moving on to the challenges with South Korea, Mr. Kepke, the Republic of Korea was named in the 2024 International Child Abduction Report as non-compliant with the Hague Convention, despite it being enforced between the United States and Korea since 2013. A State Department report to Congress noted that ROK, Republic of Korea, law enforcement authorities regularly failed to enforce return orders in abduction cases. As a result of this failure, 29% of requests for the return of abducted children under the convention remained unresolved for more than 12 months. Has there been, do you have any update on Korea's response to the report thus far, and what kind of commitments, if any, have been made to address those findings? And again, that was a report of 2024, just this year, but so I wouldn't necessarily have read of any improvements in their response, but perhaps you know of some.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think it is a part of the agenda when we are speaking with Korean counterparts, Korean government counterparts. on this. As I mentioned, our post is very much engaged on this. We have outreach to the Korean government seeking progress in light of the non-compliance finding, consistently, including from senior officials, including from our technical experts in our consular section as well. I will continue to work with them on that and make sure that they understand where we're coming from on this. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, there are challenges within their legal system. Those are challenges that we've worked with them on to try to find some solutions. And they did push out new guidelines to local authorities engaging on these things. It's not enough, but I think it's clear that we have the channels with the government that we need to have, that we can have these conversations and seek progress. It clearly hasn't been enough, and we'll continue to work on that.
I appreciate that. You know, one thought that I have, Chairman Smith, congressional delegations, known as CODELs, members of Congress travel frequently abroad, often to the countries that we're talking about today and other countries that are cited in the report on child abduction. And it seems to me that we have a duty, because we are often in a position when we're on those trips, to be in behind closed-door meetings with the highest level officials, often discussing issues that we care deeply about, sometimes uncomfortable issues. But I can tell you that I have never been, now granted, I have never been on a CODEL to Japan or Korea, but I've never heard this issue raised. And it seems to me that one of the things that we might want to talk about, Chairman Smith, is that every CODEL that is leaving from Washington to go to a foreign country should be educated and advised by our subcommittee or someone else on the instances of child abduction, the lack of any response from that country, and that members of the CODEL should be absolutely encouraged to raise this over and over again. Because, as I said, we often are raising difficult, delicate issues with countries that are our allies, but there are some issues that we care deeply about. But it seems to me that this one is absolutely should be front and center. So thank you. With that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now yield to Ms. Rodderwagen, and thank you for your leadership.